Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and as you can tell, I am a little bit better from earlier. Uh, as you guys can also tell, like my allergies can get really bad, which is why I was the way I was on that commentary. Uh, the thing is that earlier today, I kind of aggravated my allergy problem a little bit. I tried to do a workout, like a mini workout, and it just wasn't a good idea because when you have sinus problems, like really bad allergy problems, and you do stuff like that, it makes it worse, like sinus pressure and everything. And so, luckily, I felt better like an hour or two after the commentary, and I actually wanted to finish the Star Wars commentary tonight, but Safi doesn't like to do things on a prompt and on a timely basis. She likes to put things off and not do them right away. So I thought I should go ahead and see Borderlands because I knew that I had to review it because I played the games before. I actually really like the Borderlands games. I've never beaten a single one, but I actually have really enjoyed playing them. In fact, I guess the only good thing to come out of watching this movie is I actually want to play Borderlands now. Like, I want to play the good game and forget about this bad movie, because I knew this movie would be bad. I mean, based on the casting alone, the casting of this movie, it kind of reminds me of, like, I take a lot of surveys, and sometimes when I answer surveys about movies, they really do think that if they put all of these name actors in a movie, it's increasing the probability that someone would watch it. So, like, this movie, Borderlands, has Jack Black, Jamie Lee Curtis, Kevin Hart, Kate Blanchett, etc., etc. Do you want to see it more? And it's like, no, that has nothing to do with it. Like, that's the thing. That was a big red flag with this movie. The first red flag was Eli Roth. He's a terrible director, a terrible filmmaker. Second big red flag is that it's PG-13. Now, we've already experienced a PG-13 disaster this year in Trap. This is another PG-13 disaster, except this one is even worse because it's based on a video game, and it's like, once again, like, there's this complete disrespect from Hollywood when it comes to, like, respecting the source material. There's a complete lack of respect, a complete lack of wanting to get the video game right and wanting to respect the characters and respect the lore. And I just felt that from this movie wholeheartedly. Like, even though I don't really know the game stories, all I can remember is the bus, because that's literally the first thing you do. You're everyone's on the bus, and you choose one of the characters, and yeah, that's all I can remember. So that tells you how much I really had played the games. And then I also kind of remember there was, like, this one bad guy, and he was like a low-level boss, and he bragged that he had 3 balls or something. That was kind of weird, but, like, that's all I can really remember. So, but this movie, it started off and I was like, okay, how bad can this movie really be? I mean, it had like a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty bad because, like, critics really love bad movies. They really loved, like, 2016 Ghostbusters. They really loved Disney Star Wars. So how bad can this movie really be? And right off the bat, Kate Blanchett and her narration was so bad. It is hilariously bad her having to read these terrible lines. And the script in this movie is so bad. It's like, I can't even believe adults wrote the lines in this movie, because there's so many lines that feel so unnatural. Like, how could an adult person say this with a straight face? How could anyone say this, really? Because the writing was so terrible. And, you know, the whole first part is like Cate Blanchett and her terrible narration. And I don't even feel bad for Cate Blanchett, because why was she in this movie? Like, why? Like, when I thought of a Borderlands movie, why is Jack Black in this movie? Why is Kevin Hart, of all people and all actors, why is he in this movie? Why? Why? There was one actor I really liked seeing, but he played like a tiny little role. I think his name was Kenneth Park in the Harold and Kumar movies. I thought it was fun seeing him. He was really funny in those movies, but like, that's about it. Like, the casting in this movie was terrible, and of course, we will get to the worst one. Believe me, I'm saving her for last. So, actually, I'm saving her for next. I thought I had some other notes leading up to her. Okay, so the main focus of this movie is, it's a typical cliche mainstream story. That's another thing, is that whenever they adapt these video games or comic books, they always try to, instead of telling the story that was told in the game or told in the comic, they always come up with their own stupid story that is just like something that no one wants, and something that is like so mainstream and safe, playing it safe, generic, dull, awful. And the story here is about like this girl played by Ariana Greenblatt, which, by the way, they need to bring back the changing your name when you go to Hollywood and you have like a really ugly name and just a really bad name that nobody wants to say and just makes you sound really ugly. Like, they need to bring back shaming people who have ugly names and forcing them to have stage names. Because I don't know who in the hell would, like, what agent in Hollywood hired this biatch and said, like, yeah, your name is really pretty, Ariana Greenblatt. Ugh. It just makes me want to shove my fucking heater down my throat and fucking turn it on and let it burn my insides. It's just awful. Like, who would want to be named that? It sounds like just spitting acid and just licking acid off of a metal pipe and then spitting that out onto a cake, and then the cake shrivels up into, or dissolves into pieces, and then just, I don't know, it's so ugly. It's like, what the hell? And this is that annoying biatch from Barbie. And I know what you're saying, Marco. Every biatch in Barbie was annoying, except for Ken, the Ryan Gosling Ken. And I will say, yes, I know. But this is the young, annoying biatch. This is the one who, like, I don't know, she said some bullshit about Barbie being, like, a symbol of oppression or some shit. You know, she was, like, an entitled brat, feminazi bitch, who you just did not want to follow at all. And she continues to play that same type of character in this movie, just without the feminazi bit. She is like this woman child. You know how they say, like, man child? I think that we need to start normalizing the term woman child, especially for nowadays where there's this focus on, like, strong independent women instead of, like, traditional pathways for women and for men too, actually. I think we need to normalize the term woman child of like this, type of like she acts like a Taylor Swift fan, basically, with these weird bunny ears that she wears all the time. She has probably one of the most cringeworthy parts of the movie. Actually, I don't even want to say it. It's just so bad. It's so fucking bad. But she is the center of attention in this movie. This annoying, awful biatch who you just can't stand. She is like nails on a chalkboard, annoying and dumb. She is so unlikable. She acts like a child. It is so weird. How old is this bitch? I mean, I'm 25. How old is she? I mean, she's got to be like 15 to be acting like this. Oh, she's 16. Oh, okay, well, that explains it. Yeah. Well, she's just playing herself, basically. Okay, wow, why are they letting her, like, be in movies, anyway? What's up with that? We need to take her out of movies, okay? Like, she's not good, okay? She is terrible. She is awful. At least she does act like her age, because I could definitely imagine, like, seeing someone like her in high school, typical, like, modern-day teenager. Okay, so that is, but still, that's not a good excuse for her terrible acting and for still being such a dislikable character. I mean, the whole movie is centered around how she is the key or something. I don't know. She's like a key to a vault, and they want to get inside the vault to get the treasure or something. It's just a stupid story. It's just such a dumbed down Hollywood mainstream garbage slop consumer story, like like, oh, look at this dumb story we came up with. Isn't this video game dumb? Aren't all these characters dumb? Isn't this silly? That's another thing, is you can really sense the disdain that they have for the source material by treating it like it's just this silly. It almost felt like a Robert Rodriguez movie. like honestly, like it felt like Spy Kids but bad. And Spy Kids is already pretty bad. Well, I mean the third one, and then the fourth one, and then I didn't watch any of the other ones, but like this movie really felt like Robert Rodriguez, like, thought that he could do a Borderlands movie. Except I think that Robert Rodriguez would have done a better job. I mean, Alita Battle Angel was really good, and then that movie never got a sequel because of Captain Feminazi. But anyways, okay, I'll just go ahead and say it. There's this part in the movie, and I'm saying it because it is the most cringeworthy, or probably the most cringeworthy. I mean, Jack Black's character, that's another thing. Jack Black plays this stupid little robot. His dialogue is so bad. I mean, he's trying to be funny, and he's not. Jack Black used to be really, really funny, but now he's just really annoying. And especially in this movie, he just is not funny at all. There's not a single line that he says that's funny. Like, the dialogue is so poor and it's so terrible that even Jack Black can't make it funny. But Cate Blanchett is in this trailer with Ariana Greenblatt, and Ariana says, can you go grab my badonkadonk? And then Cate Blanchett, I think she was talking about this tail. Like, she had this, like, tail thing on the bed that, like, she wanted to wear that. Like, it's really, really weird. And then she grabs a teddy bear and she gets blown up. And I don't care about spoilers, too. You can fuck off, like, if you care about spoilers for this movie. Like, seriously, like, this movie is the worst. I want to ruin this movie for you. So, like, if you care about spoilers, then just go ahead and click off, because this is bad. This movie's really, really bad. I can't hate this movie enough. And I just got done watching The Force Awakens. That's how bad this movie is, guys. Like, The Force Awakens was so bad. Number one, it ruined my birthday. Number two, it made me never want to watch anything Star Wars again. Or at least any Disney Star Wars anything. Like, it made me never want to support anything else that Disney would make that's Star Wars related, which basically means I can't really enjoy Star Wars anymore, like, unless it's like the old stuff, because it's all Disney now, and I'm just not going to support them. And so that's how bad that was. The fact that after watching that movie, and then I go over to this, and this is still somehow a million times worse, that's a really bad sign, guys. Like, seriously, this movie makes The Force Awakens look like Citizen Kane. And as I said in the caption for the picture I put on the video, this is everything we thought that Fallout Season 1 was going to be. This is exactly like, I was so worried about Fallout being bad, and it turned out to be really good. This is the exact opposite to where I knew it was going to be bad, and it was somehow 10 times worse. Another thing is that the characters have no chemistry at all. I mean, all the characters, they're supposed to have like this team vibe going on. You know, this typical modern thing of like, we have to have a team, like the Avengers. You know, there always has to be a team. It can't just be one or two people. It has to be a team. And none of them have any chemistry at all. Even at the end of the movie, after they defeated the bad guy, they still do not have chemistry with each other. They just feel like a bunch of sellout actors who decided to do this movie to get a paycheck. And this movie is really ugly, too. Like, it's just so ugly looking. Like, the video games, even though it's like some sort of a wasteland, like sci-fi or whatever, like, environment, it's not ugly at all. Like, in fact, I'm just going to look up, like, a still of the game. Let's look up Borderlands video game. Because you know what this movie looked like? It looked like modern-day Chicago or something. And the video game has this, like, comic book look to it. It has, like, this really stylish, like, comic art, graphic novel type of thing going on. And it looks really, really cool. And there was a lot of, like, graffiti in this movie. That's why I was mentioning Chicago. In all these pictures, I don't see any graffiti at all so far. I could be wrong, but, like, again, this movie looked nothing like this video game. At all. Yeah. So, let's see. And also, the dialogue in this movie, a lot of the dialogue is just exposition. A lot of, like, telling the story instead of showing it. So, like, there's this whole stupid story about the main character, and this has also felt like they were trying to rip off Guardians of the Galaxy, because, like, the main character, she was abandoned by her parent when she was a child, and she was taken in by this bad person or bad people or something. I don't know. It was a stupid story. It was just kind of like bullshit in the background to me. But, like, there's all this dialogue about it, and it's just like exposition of like, oh, my mother abandoned me, and that's in like the narration, and then Jamie Lee Curtis talks about it like, oh, your mother wasn't trying to abandon you. I had to do this and that, and you had to do the... And just the way that, like, they just over talk about the backstories, the background, and it's so lame. It's so fucking lame. All this exposition dialogue, constantly throwing these little twists in too. Like, there's like a billion twists in this movie, and like, none of them were interesting at all. All of them were predictable, all of them were stupid, all of them were dumb. Another thing that was really weird was that the characters made goofy faces. Like, there were a lot of takes in the movie, or like scenes that went on like a little longer than they should have. And for some reason, it almost felt like the actors thought that the scene was over, but the camera was still rolling. And so they're making these weird, awkward faces, or almost like they're children. You know, like they're making these childish, like, weird faces at the camera, like Eli Roth is encouraging it. And so I almost think that it's like on purpose or something. It's really, really weird. Another thing, now this is something that I remember from the video games. In the video games, there was always a sense of danger. There was always a sense of like, uh-oh, I'm about to get into a really intense battle here. I might not make it out. This is going to be really hard to get through. There was always a sense of like, there was always stakes to what was going on. And just like I mentioned in The Force Awakens, there's no stakes at all here. You know that these main characters are going to make it. You know that they're not going to have to suffer very much. You know that, you know, everything's going to be okay for them. And so there's no stakes here. And also, Jamie Lee Curtis, we're going to rag on Jamie Lee Curtis now because she deserves it for Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. She can't pronounce debris. I know that that's like really, really surprising, but like I was surprised too. Instead of saying debris, she says debris. Wow. Yeah. And remember, guys, Jamie Lee Curtis shit on Halloween 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, H2O, and Resurrection, and the remakes. But I gotta say, all of those movies are way better than this movie. All of the Halloween sequels, every single damn one. The remakes, Resurrection, H2O, all of them. Halloween 6, Halloween 5, all of them are better than this movie. This movie is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's practically unwatchable. You can hardly follow the movie because it's basically like just a bunch of nonsense. Like, this is basically like background noise. And also, like, who asked for a PG-13 Borderlands movie? Like, seriously, like, what Borderlands fan got excited after it was like, oh, by the way, this movie's going to be PG-13. So that means the children can see it too. Because that's really the target audience for Borderlands video games. Aren't those mature rated games, by the way? Let's look it up. Let's look that up. No, they're showing the ratings on Google. They're not showing what I'm like wanting them to show. Oh yeah, here we go. Borderlands M-rated. 17 and up. Why would you take a mature rated game series and turn it into a PG-13 movie? Why would you do that? That is so idiotic. It is so insulting to the fans of the series. Everyone who made this movie should put up their hats, give up, because this was trash. This was an awful movie. This was a complete waste of my time. And then, of course, the twist is that instead of the main characters, instead of them having to fight together as a team and strategize in order to defeat the bad guy, all that needs to happen is that the main character, she needs to discover that she has superpowers, and so that she can then use her supernatural powers to defeat the bad guys. That's all that had to happen. And it's like a typical modern Hollywood thing, too. Because it's like the whole movie you thought Ariana Greenblatt was the special one. And it's like, yeah, she's special as in she's fucking stupid. But then, no, it's actually Cate Blanchett is the special one. You know, the other girl. And it's like, oh, yeah, of course, typical. And then at the end of the movie, it was really weird. Jamie Lee Curtis gives Ariana some tea. And I thought, okay, there can't be anything that goes wrong here. Because this is like a resolution shot of like where everything is winding down now. And but no, guess what happens, guys? There was no tea in this cup, and you can visibly see and tell and hear that Ariana is drinking air tea. So she's not drinking anything. She's just lifting up this cup and drinking what is air. Basically, another thing of like she's like a child. Everyone in this movie acts like a child. So, and also the main bad guy, he was probably another terrible actor in the movie, or like, he's probably like the third worst actor in the movie. And I recognized him. I thought, I've seen him somewhere. And I thought, oh yeah, he was in the Point Break remake that nobody wanted. And he's the main bad guy in this movie too. And I gotta say, like, he really chooses the wrong movies to be in. Because, like, wow. The Point Break remake and the Borderlands movie, like, that is a bad track record right there. And my food review, I don't think I've ever done this before in the history of this channel. And that is how bad this movie is. And I really wanted to represent that feeling. This movie is nothing. This movie makes you feel the disappointment that a starving child would have when he finds out that he's not going to get to eat dinner. This movie leaves you with nothing. It leaves you feeling absolutely nothing. It's a complete letdown. It's a complete piece of shit. It's like you're suffering and you're starving. And you're a poor child who can't afford his next meal. And where I got that idea from was actually Ariana drinking no tea in her cup. So anyways, please like this video and comment. Tell me what you thought of the Borderlands movie. Especially if you're a fan of the games, because I would be curious to figure out like what was done right, if anything, from the games, because it really doesn't feel like anything from the games was represented in this movie. It feels like typical like Hollywood thinking that they know better, and Hollywood thinking that they know what to do. They know how to fix what doesn't need to be fixed, which is like a big problem with Hollywood. You know, that's why we didn't get to see Wolverine in his actual comic book suit until 2024. It took like 20-something years to see that because of Hollywood thinking that they know better than the source material that everyone loves. So then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.